You think you're smart, but people still outmaneuver you. They smile, you trust, you lose. You talk more, they learn more. You reveal, they calculate, and you still wonder why you're prey. The problem. You live in a battlefield disguised as society. Wolves wear suits, hyenas wear empathy. You believe in fairness, they believe in leverage. Niccolo Machiavelli warned you centuries ago. Power respects strategy, not virtue. But you cling to covert contracts. You give kindness expecting loyalty. You give honesty expecting reciprocity. That's not morality, that's naivety. You suffer cognitive dissonance. You think you're strong, but you avoid conflict. You think you're rational, but you overshare emotions. And predators smell that weakness like blood in water. Why do foxes survive among lions? Why does the quiet man often control the room? Because intelligence without strategy is suicide. Thesis. Your weakness is not lack of intelligence, it is strategic error. You lose because you reveal your position. You fight in the open, you ignore information asymmetry. And Socrates mastered that asymmetry like a general commanding shadows.
Today, you learn the hidden method of Socrates. You will master 1. Strategic ignorance. 2. Weaponized questions. 3. Silence as psychological warfare. 4. Shadow integration. 5. Controlled exposure. 6. Cognitive traps. Stay until the end, because the final principle turns you from prey into predator. Count to 3. Watch what happens. 1, 2, 3. Let's begin. 1. Strategic ignorance, the fox mask. Socrates pretended ignorance, but he was hunting. He asked simple questions. He played the fool, and powerful men collapsed under their own words. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. You misunderstand that, quote, it is not humility, it is camouflage. When you display intelligence, egos activate. When you display ignorance, guards drop. Lions relax around sheep. Foxes wait for that moment. Psychology calls this information asymmetry. The one who asks learns. The one who answers reveals. You talk to prove worth. They listen to collect data. Stop. Tactics. Enter conversations with questions, not opinions. Downplay expertise. Say, help me understand. Let them teach. Track contradictions silently. Ask yourself this question: why do you rush to prove yourself? That urge is ego. Ego is noise. Noise gets you targeted. Socrates survived by appearing harmless. You try to appear impressive. Impressive people get challenged. Harmless people gather secrets, and secrets win wars. But questions alone are not enough. Next, you weaponize them. Number 2. Weaponized questions, the surgical strike. Questions are scalpels. Used right, they cut without blood. Socrates never attacked directly. He dismantled belief systems slowly. What do you mean by that? Can you define that clearly? Is that always true? Simple, deadly. You argue with statements. You dominate with questions. When you state, you defend. When they ask, they defend. Defense drains energy. This creates cognitive dissonance. Their identity clashes with logic. They feel pressure. They scramble. And you stay calm. Tactics. Ask for definitions. Ask for evidence. Ask for exceptions. Repeat their answer back slowly. Maintain eye contact. Say nothing.
Count to 3 after they answer. Watch discomfort rise. 1, 2, 3. Silence amplifies doubt. Why do you think interrogators use questions? Because people confess to themselves. You don't overpower. You guide them into their own trap. But here's the deeper layer. If you ask aggressively, they resist. If you ask curiously, they collapse. Tone is camouflage, and that leads to your next weapon. 3. Silence, psychological warfare. You fear silence. Predators love it. In battle, noise reveals position. Silence conceals strategy. Socrates paused. He let tension stretch like a drawn bow. Silence forces projection. Humans cannot tolerate empty space. They fill it with truth or insecurity. You sabotage yourself by filling gaps. You over-explain. You justify. You leak leverage. Why? Because you crave approval. Approval is bait. Control is power. Tactics. After speaking, stop. Let them respond first. Maintain relaxed posture. Slow your breathing. Never rush to rescue awkwardness.
Silence creates authority. Fast speech creates submission. Who controls tempo controls frame. Remember that. Ask yourself this: who talks more in your interactions? The prey always does. You want respect? Slow down. But silence without inner strength cracks under pressure. So now we go deeper. 4. Shadow integration. Tame the wolf. You pretend you're harmless, but inside there is a wolf. You deny anger. You deny ambition. You deny dominance. And that denial makes you weak. Carl Jung called it shadow integration. The parts of you you reject control you. Socrates confronted uncomfortable truths. He forced others to face theirs. The unexamined life is not worth living. Examination is surgery. It cuts illusions. If you deny your capacity for aggression, you cannot control it. If you fear your own darkness, you will fear confrontation. Predators sense suppressed rage. They test you. Hyenas circle wounded lions. Tactics. Admit your desire for status. Admit your capacity for manipulation. Admit your competitive instinct. Channel it consciously. Train your body. Train your voice. Integrated darkness creates calm dominance. Unintegrated darkness leaks through insecurity. Which one are you? Stay sharp, because next you learn how to reveal strength without inviting attack.
5. Controlled exposure. Show the fangs, then sheath them. Total concealment breeds suspicion. Total exposure breeds vulnerability. Balance is strategy. Socrates did not shout power, but when cornered, he stood unshaken before Athens. That is controlled exposure. You reveal just enough competence to deter predators, but never enough to trigger envy. Lions don't roar constantly. They conserve energy. Tactics. Display results, not intentions. Speak calmly about achievements. Avoid bragging. Signal boundaries once and force quietly. If someone disrespects you, pause. Lock eye contact. State boundary once. No emotion, no lecture. Calm menace is unforgettable. But this is only the surface, because the final principle, the one predators fear, involves turning their mind against itself, and that is where true dominance begins. Before we continue, understand this. Everything so far builds pressure, but pressure alone does not win wars. You need collapse. You need the opponent to dismantle himself, and that is where Socrates becomes lethal. 6. Cognitive traps. Make them argue with themselves. You don't defeat people. You let them defeat themselves. Socrates mastered this. He never declared victory. He exposed contradictions. A contradiction is a crack in armor. Push gently, the whole plate shatters. Humans are addicted to consistency. When belief and logic clash, cognitive dissonance ignites, and discomfort demands resolution. Most people resolve it emotionally, not rationally. That's your opening. Tactics. Get them to commit publicly to a position. Clarify it precisely. Introduce a subtle counterexample. Ask, how do those both fit together? Stay silent. Never accuse, never mock, never smirk. You are a surgeon, not a street fighter. Ask yourself this question. When was the last time someone changed your mind by force? Never. Change happens internally. Socrates did not attack egos. He exposed faulty premises. You must do the same. Example. They say, loyalty is everything. You ask, even when loyalty protects incompetence? Now they must choose identity or logic. Count to 3, watch tension rise. 1, 2, 3. You don't win arguments. You plant doubt. Doubt is a virus. It spreads quietly. But there's a deeper layer. Because once doubt forms, you must control the frame. 7. Frame control. Own the battlefield. Wars are not won with weapons alone. They are won by terrain. Frame is a psychological terrain. Who defines reality controls perception. Who controls perception controls power. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this. Men judge by appearances. Few examine substance. So what do? You refuse their frame. If they accuse you of being too intense, you respond calmly. I value precision. You reframe intensity as strength. If they call you quiet, you say, I observe before acting. Silence becomes strategy. Never accept labels. Redefine them instantly. Tactics. Translate insults into virtues. Slow your tone when challenged. Ask, compared to what? Clarify assumptions. Repeat your reframe confidently. Predators test boundaries through labels. Hyenas laugh to destabilize lions. You do not defend. You reposition. Ask yourself this. Who usually sets the tone in your conversations? If it's not you, you're reacting. Reaction is surrender. But control requires emotional discipline, and that requires your next weapon. 8. Emotional detachment. Ice in the veins. Emotion is energy. Uncontrolled, it is leakage. Controlled, it is fuel. You lose when anger hijacks logic. You lose when validation tempts confession. Socrates drank poison calmly. Think about that. He valued principle over panic. The unexamined life is not worth living. Examination includes your impulses. Predators provoke emotion deliberately. They seek tells, micro-expressions, voice shifts, breathing changes. You must become unreadable, like a wolf in snowfall. Tactics. Slow your breathing under stress. Relax your jaw. Lower your voice. Speak last. Delay emotional responses by 10 seconds. Count to 10 internally before reacting. You will feel the urge to respond fast. That urge is weakness. Detachment creates mystery. Mystery creates power. But here is the paradox. Total detachment makes you cold. Cold makes you isolated. So what balances it? Selective warmth. And that is the final layer. Stay until the end, because this final principle separates strategists from tyrants. 9. Selective vulnerability. Controlled humanity. Total armor intimidates, but it also alienates. Socrates asked questions relentlessly, yet he built devoted followers. Why? Because he revealed humanity strategically. You do not expose wounds, you reveal scars. Scars signal survival, wounds signal weakness. Understand covert contracts here. You do not share pain hoping for rescue, you share insight to build connection. Big difference. Tactics. Share lessons, not raw trauma. Reveal growth, not chaos. Admit small flaws confidently. Never confess insecurities under pressure. Choose timing carefully. Ask yourself this question. Do you overshare to feel accepted? That is approval seeking. Approval seeking smells like prey. Selective vulnerability builds alliance. Alliance builds influence. And influence compounds. Synthesis, the transformation. Now see the pattern. Strategic ignorance, weaponized questions, silence, shadow integration, controlled exposure, cognitive traps, frame control, emotional detachment, selective vulnerability. This is not manipulation for cruelty. This is psychological sovereignty. You stop leaking information. You stop reacting emotionally. You stop seeking validation. You start observing. You start guiding. You start controlling tempo. Society is not a playground. It is a chessboard. If you remain naive, you will be exploited. If you stay loud and impulsive, you will be neutralized. Wolves do not announce attack plans. Foxes do not debate traps with prey. Ask yourself this. How many times have you been outmaneuvered because you spoke too soon? How many opportunities died because you reacted emotionally? That ends now. But transformation demands discipline. You must practice silence daily. You must interrogate your own beliefs ruthlessly. You must embrace your shadow consciously. This is surgical self-mastery, and most people will never do it because it is uncomfortable, because it exposes ego, because it kills illusions. But you are still here. That means something. If you want power, train like a strategist. Observe more than you speak, question more than you declare, reveal less than you know. And remember, the one who controls questions controls reality. If this sharpened your mind, subscribe now, because the next video goes even darker. And write this below in the comments. I move in silence. Commit publicly. Identity shape.